Hey, and welcome back, Impatient Entrepreneurs. This is Jumpstart Jim, and today we're going to talk a little bit about inspiration. What has inspired you? What has caused you to maybe change the way you do things, the way you look at life? The question that was posed to me was, what books, what blogs, what films have changed you? And interesting, because I've been reading about a book a week since probably 1992 or so. For some reason, I really like books. I really love books. In fact, I prefer the physical kind of book even over my Kindle because I'm often going to coffee shops or in my car, and it's last minute. Sometimes I'm just waiting for someone. So I'm very, very much into books, but reading about a book a week is a little bit of a challenge to tell what has really impacted me, because sometimes it's just one chapter, sometimes it's just one sentence that someone says. So what I'm going to do is I picked some of the books that have had a good impact on me or a great impact on me, but I'm going to also go through and tell you that the authors of some of these books have had influence on me too, but I take things that have had inspiration to me to a whole different level by way of, I don't necessarily just follow the books or the movies. I actually go and hire people as coaches or mentors or create mastermind groups to help me grow personally. So that's always been my best way of approaching things. So let me dive into some of the books that have had influence, at least on my business life. So one of the first authors that I talk about on a regular basis, and I use a lot of his stuff, is Dan Kennedy. Now, I happen to pick the Trust-Based Marketing book. This is the most recent one that I picked up. It deals a lot with what I believe in is developing your authority, your celebrity, your expertise, basically becoming an ace, which is exactly what my workshops teach. And this Trust-Based Marketing allows people to start to understand exactly what I'm teaching there. Another big influence for me was another Dan Kennedy book. This one, Marketing to the Affluent. Slightly different market than a lot of people are used to, and I had marketed to all different levels of people, and Marketing to the Affluent gave me a different perspective on how people think who have some money. I grew up in the streets. Most of my friends that I grew up with are either dead or in jail. I mean, it was not a great time to be around influential people of wealth, because most of my friends were stealing just to get by on a regular basis. So for me, it was learning a whole different mindset. Now, one of the ones that you've probably heard of before, and maybe even in this group, is Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. So there you go, by Cialdini, if you got the spelling. Big influential person with most of the marketers when it comes to psychology and how it really impacts your life. Another person who I really believe in psychology-wise and influence-wise is Kevin Hogan. Pretty much everything Kevin puts together I really enjoy, because he puts a lot of research into this. This isn't just a theory. It's a lot of research of what actually happens, and I've used a tremendous amount of this in my consulting. I particularly like the 168-hour week because it was sort of a takeoff on the 4-hour work week, which I have issues with, actually. So one of the biggest books that caused me as an impatient entrepreneur to really change my mood, my attitude, and to believe in something that was really unique was The 1 Minute Millionaire. Mark Victor Hansen, Robert Allen put this book together, and what made this book so unique for me was not the information inside, because the business side of what's in here I teach on a regular basis. That wasn't that big of a deal to me. What was cool about this is they put a fictional story together, and it was on both of them were in the book. To me, that was huge. I really wish, if I had the sense of how to write more fiction, that might be something I'd like to pursue. But I really like the idea of being able to read a story and then the real world aspect of it. That's what I like to do in my own workshops, is give you a little bit of a story and then help you get the real world aspect. So this was influential to me because it allowed me to see books don't have to be the typical book that so many of us are used to. And then one of the bigger books that had influence on me that you will not find on a bookshelf anywhere is, I don't know if you can read this. This is Outrageous Offline Secrets for the Impatient Entrepreneur. This was actually the first physical book that I had printed, and I carried around books like this along with some article marketing books and SEO books, and they were physical books, and it allowed me to land just very large 5-figure contracts. So my book was not influential to me, but for me, and I'm a big promoter and a big proponent of working with and developing your own book too. So that's some of the people that inspired me by way of books. And in order to keep this short, I do want to mention one other person that was pretty influential in my life. Way back in 1992, I had an opportunity to be, I call it a bodyguard, I guess, for Tony Robbins. It was actually just the security team that was working at an event that he was at, and this was way before he was big. And big meaning wasn't hitting the infomercials yet. And I had an opportunity to speak with the people in the group and with Tony. And the big thing that influenced me and the inspiration that I probably take to heart the most is what's the quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions you ask yourself. That was probably the one most influential thing that has ever occurred in my life, is reframing that concept of what is the quality of my questions. Because very often I notice if I'm getting negative, I'm asking the wrong type of questions. So having a chance to work a little bit with Tony Robbins, actually a lot with Tony Robbins, and people along that realm has been a big help for me. Again, mentors and coaches have been the biggest thing for me. And that's actually why I've changed my business model for the year 2013 to be a very personalized, small group coaching, mentoring, helping people on a very, very personal level. Because no matter which one of these books that you may read, it's still generic information. The hard part is, how do you take this information and put it into your life? That's what's hugely important to me. Look, the inspiration that came from this, and one more I guess I have to throw in there, based on some of my philosophies of how I teach business now, was actually Bruce Lee. He believed in what worked. Now, you all are familiar, maybe by the time this video is hitting the market, the UFC's been out for 20-some years. Look, that I understand. People have a concept of what the UFC is and what that's done for people, but Bruce Lee was actually probably the first person to start discussing mixed martial arts. Well, I grew up for 20 years. I taught martial arts. For 30 years, I trained. And my blessing in that world was that I just started to discover each person's physical traits were different, so therefore their skill levels are going to be different. If you're 5'2", you're not supposed to be trying to kick someone in the head who's 6'5". It's just not a smart move. Okay, so physically, if in the martial arts world things change like that, and I could help people come off the street, and in 6 months they were defeating black belts because we only taught what was functional and useful for them. So whenever I take books like these and take that information and then hear your story, that's what I do. I figure out how to inspire you, what works for you, what specifically techniques and strategies are going to be the smartest for you. That's what my goal is, to not only take the information that has inspired me, but then take that personal information from you, put them together, and help you be inspired to achieve more and more in your life. So that being said, below here, maybe do a video or type in some ideas on what has inspired you. What books, movies, blogs, films, people have inspired you. I'd love to hear more from you. So this is Jumpstart Jim. Thanks, and I'm looking forward to some of your responses.